Hello and welcome to episode 276 of the Washed Up Emo podcast. I am Tom Mullen from washedupemo.com. Today in the podcast is Jim Ward from Sparta. Sparta has a new album called Cut a Silhouette. It's out May 29th on Equal Vision Records. Jim and I speak about guitar tones, recording with J Robbins, co-writing for the first time on a song with Frank Iero, and how Sparta connected with Equal Vision Records. Lastly, we talk about Jim always taking it to the bridge. You'll get it when you listen. This is episode 276 of the Washed Up Emo podcast with Jim Ward from Sparta.
Yo.
Hello, sir.
How are you chipper this morning?
Oh, come on.
We played like a warm-up secret show last night. So I'm just catching my breath.
Oh, how was that?
It was great, yeah. Show one of this whole thing. So it's nice to have it get that under our belt. And then Sunday we have a regular show.
Nice. So what was that like for you? Was it figuring out what songs to do? Was it just figuring out the set list?
We've been off since September. Yeah, so it was like the guys flew in Thursday night from LA. And so we practiced yesterday and just playing two new songs, but I just have like a different gear configuration for this tour. So I'm learning. It's like the pedal board I've been using for 20, 30 years. I have like a whole updated system, like I've gotten with the times.
What did you get? So the Helix thing?
The Fender Tone Master.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a Fender guy. I'm a Fender artist. So they sent me one and were like, if you like it, keep it. If you don't, send it back. And I was like, I'm probably using like 1% of what this thing is capable of. And it's amazing.
So what was the difference from your equipment before to this, and what made it easier?
So I've always toured with like just, a guitar, a pedal board, and an amp. And now I'm using the amp modeling in the fucking box, basically.
Yeah.
But the thing for me is that I use a bunch of delays. That's essentially like my sound is based on delays. And during a set, you have to kind of constantly alter the analog delays, like the time and the setting and all that. So for me, the big sell on this is like I can skip through songs. So the songs are like I can look down and see. So like I program the set list and I can look down and see like, okay, this is what song I'm on. I can turn on that song and then all the delays are set to that tempo. So for me, it's just a huge time saver and it's way more accurate. And I can do a bunch of like stereo effects because we're a three-piece now. So I can just make the guitars bigger and sort of thicker and, without having like 50 pedals on a board. Like, even though my pedal board's a little bit bigger than it was before, but it's because it has the big thing on it. And then I use they have power amps that sit on stage. So I still have amps on stage, but they don't even have to be mic'd up. Like it's a direct line to the front of house.
Interesting. So
yeah, and like when people convert to this, they always try and convert everybody. Like Steve Fadula was like, when are you going to come on this side? When are you coming? When are you coming? And I was like, fuck that, I'm amped for life. And then I got in. I'm like, I called him and I was like, yeah, I'm in. I get it. I get it.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. Converted.
And then for people to think that like an amp is on stage and that means that it's that sound, you wanted the amp and it's still pushing out. Like it's not like it's the AC/DC wall where only one's mic'd and the rest of it's empty.
Yeah, well, it's right. So it's I have two amps that have one speaker each, so they're really tiny. I have two tiny little amps on stage, but those are pushing air on stage, so I can hear it.
Yes.
Even though I wear in-ears, I still want to hear like stage volume.
Yeah.
But like if you go see Jimmy, there's no amps.
There's no amps. Yeah. That's what he is like all in that.
Oh my God, he's like the fucking grand master of all of that stuff, like the wizard of all wizards.
He was so funny when there was like a show or whatever, and I was like, hey, I gotta ask, like, can you play this or whatever? And he's like, well, I don't have it programmed in because we're back from Australia with my chem, and that obviously wasn't in the set, Tom, you old fuck, And I was like, damn it, but that it was like programmed in.
Yeah. Yep, that's it now. That's our whole world. And like all of it can live on a laptop, so even if your shit gets like lost, you just get another one and plug it in and boom, done.
And it's saved on your computer?
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a whole interface of like you can work on it on the computer with headphones like on the plane. You could like work on sounds or you could work on programming.
So Jim could have put a song back in the set if he wanted to, but he just
I
blamed
mean,
us. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I think he's just lazy as Jim Adkins is known to be. Just the laziest of all of
I
us.
know, just doesn't do anything. Just harp.
Just sitting around eating bonbons.
Yeah, just one song. He just sits
That's my
on that
dude.
one song. Yeah, no. So for you, like being able to edit that or dial that in, that obviously probably alleviates time, right? With the amount of time that you have to do in between songs, or even
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
said,
Super
like
easy.
like to be able to tune that, like you said, the delay in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's really easy to go, and we're still. I mean, Sparta is a three-piece rock band with no backing tracks and no clicks and everything. Like we just play as three dudes on stage. So it still has that capability. I still have enough analog pedals on the board that I'm able to still be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like the core of the sound is now there. And it's really consistent. So like if we're in Europe or Australia, like we're renting backline stuff. And it's kind of like you get what you get. Sometimes I'm a Vox guy, so I would be like going to England and I whatever Vox is at the rental place when we pick it up is kind of what you're stuck with for 3 weeks. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're not great, or sometimes they just like they're high gain or they're whatever. Like it's just like fuck. Now I have to alter what I do based on this amp. Now that's kind of been eliminated, so it's consistent everywhere I go, and that part is like really enjoyable to me.
I feel like that was the sell.
That's the cell, yeah. The cell is like fly dates. Like it makes fly dates super easy.
Mm.
And I can actually take it off the pedal board and just put it in my carry-on bag and I could eliminate my whole pedal board and still play a show,
And
basically.
and then I want to know. So why do you have both? Is it because you want some of those pedals to still be
Yeah, because it's still
in the chain?
yeah, so like I use the James Bowman started making pedals and he makes this great Klon replica,
Mm-hmm.
this great like distortion pedal, and I love it. So I don't want to use the presets in the box. So I just use that
Mm.
like on an effects loop. So I have that and I can change the gain and the output in the moment for like if the stage feels too quiet or whatever it is
Oh,
that
right.
and then I like one of my very signature sounds is the Boss DM3, like the maroon delay pedal that's like
Mm-hmm.
the edge, the famous with the edge, but also that's sort of on a lot on my stuff. So that I need to have like the real thing right there in the effects chain. And then after that, it's like some pretty far out like Keeley electronics delays that aren't going to be simulated in the box. So I use it for
Interesting.
like the padding and all of that stuff, like the big reverbs and like like a flanger or whatever. Like I don't want to put a flanger on the board for breaking the broken. Like it's just one
Mm-hmm.
song, one part of one song, and it's like I've been creating that same pedal forever just for that one part of that one song. But now I can do all of that stuff like in the box, and it's effective. And I think I didn't write the record with this, but I made the record with it. So now I think the future songs will sort of this will all give me like a jumping off point for that. So it can get bigger and more fun and more interesting for me, which probably nobody gives a shit about except for me. But
Well,
guitar
no.
geeks do.
As a guitar geek, I think I love this because being able to make it easier and having something be able to create things in a way without the barriers, right? A lot of times
Yeah,
people stop, right? The first time they get callus, they don't get calluses yet and they stop playing. As soon as you
yeah.
get calluses, you're good to go and you can go further and longer. So I feel like this is giving you those extra calluses in that
Eh,
from a creative standpoint.
yeah, and to be able to use it like I never used it on tour or anything until we went to Magpie and started making the record with Jay. So I was building the sounds as we were making the songs, and I had to kind of I don't think I had to sell him on it, but I had to like there was no room for like, oh, that's cool, but it doesn't sound great. It's like this only works if it sounds like it has to be like J Robbins approved. You know what I mean? So like I'm in
Mm.
there like sculpting these sounds to make sure. And I still used, you don't have to use the amps in the box. So I still used like real Voxes in the studio. So you can like turn the amp off on the box and just use the effects. But the part that I could just recall those effects in the moment and then alter something. So like when it's sitting in the mix, if it's just like, man, I wish that delay was a little bit this, be like, oh, let's just go back and redo it and change that delay a little bit. Super easy. So as long as it was up to par for everybody's liking on the record, then it worked. And I'm just using it as a tool, right? So it's the same thing as when Pro Tools came out and people are like, oh, this is going to ruin music. Like, no, it's just a tool. You can use it any way you want to. So like a bad song is a bad song. Nothing's going to make it good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think I just think that's old heads, and I'm included in some of those conversations. But I think
until you get there, it seems weird and
yeah,
uncomfortable. And I 100% was in the camp of like, fuck that. Like, I want it to be real. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh, this is real. It's just a different real. It's just a new reel.
And what about working with Jay? You talked about J Robbins approved.
So when I was 15, and it's funny because my friend Brooks, who plays in War on Women and also plays with Jay in sort of everything that Jay does now, he's like Jay's guy. When Brooks and I were kids, we grew up together in El Paso. And when we were 15, Jawbox was sort of in the top 3-4 bands that were sculpting us as like young men, young musicians. It's like Fugazi, Jawbox, Jawbreaker. All of that stuff is like building us neural pathways in our head, like making us who we are. And I think I've somehow never really come across Jay. Like we've texted a few times, and I think we sent some money for a thing he was raising money for, but we never like hung out. But I knew Brooks was like working at a studio and had become friends with him. So I would ask Brooks, like, is it weird? And he's like, sometimes it is. Like, sometimes you catch yourself being a little bit of a fan, because he's so important to us. But he's also like, if you know him, he's the most humble, kind human being you'll ever meet. He's also incredible at what he does, right? So when we got to the studio, we did like 2 or 3 days of like kind of pre-production stuff in between dates in 2024. And the first time, this is always where I kind of go to on talking about him, is like the first time I heard him singing my melody back to me, like altering it, say like, hey, why don't you just try it like this? And he sang it back to me. To hear his voice singing my words was like one of those kind of moments that I'll never forget, because it was just so full circle, kind of insane and kind of just awesome. And then, he's talking about how much he loves Bob Mould and how important he is. And I was like, oh, it's like, for me, that's you. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because for me, it's you. Like, and then it was great because we got to be friends during this process and we work really well together. And the other thing I'll say is like the day that we kind of butted heads on a part and we're trying to get to the best version of that part, in the middle of it, I was kind of like, hey, you must really believe in this because you're arguing with J Robbins about it. Like that's not something I ever thought I would ever be doing in my life. And it was amazing because that collaboration led to what I think is the best Sparta record in a very, very long time. And it just feels so good. And I think he's a lot to thank for that.
So talk about why did you work well together? It's a lot of people think about that, from coworkers to your partner to dealing with someone at the grocery store. How was that collaborative for you, and why did you feel like it worked well?
So I think first thing is that we have the same vernacular because I grew up learning his language. So part of the language that I speak musically and sort of work wise or I don't know what the right word is, kind of ethically, the way that we work as a band is really sort of built off of that foundation, like the Discord family. So I think for me, we already speak the same language, which is just, like making a record with Ross Robinson was amazing. And it produced like obviously a record that changed all of our lives. And it's incredible, but that was learning somebody else's language in the studio. Like this dude is from a whole different world, and you have to kind of learn that and see where it works and where it doesn't work. With Jay, there was a whole bunch of the first steps that were already established, I think, which is why it was easy to we made this record in 7 days, which is still incredible, I think, in this day and age, to finish a whole record in 7 days, top to bottom, all lyrics done, all vocals done, everything done. And we were able to sort of fast forward into that first part of it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, it's
I
like,
think that part
yeah.
is great. Also, like, there's a level of respect that he has for us that was really appreciated. Like, he respects us and what we've done and our careers, and we respect him. So there's also that kind of thing where you walk in and everyone's just like, we all understand that everybody here knows what they're doing and nobody is going to be a dick and everything's cool. Like, from day one, that's an easy thing to do.
And I think from not just like, oh, we like the same bands or I liked your band, I think when you talked about the vernacular or the way that you're talking about things, that's really deep. That's just a
Yeah, and
deeper level.
it's an intrinsic connection that isn't possible to fake. And part of that is he's so open to that. Like, it wasn't like his, thank you. It wasn't like his way. You know what I mean? He was
Mm-hmm.
like, I like this, but, and the one thing that I will point out for sure. Hold on, I'm going to switch hands.
Yeah.
The one thing that was like really refreshing is we kind of got in this like little bit of a jammy part, and we're like turning on the delay pedals and we're like fucking around, and he's like, yeah, I know it's really fun to do that, but it's not super fun to listen to. And we were like, fair enough.
Oh, that's great. Could you mention a specific song maybe on the record? It could be from the two that are released as of now, that there was that collaborative or maybe a butting of heads or something that was worked on that you felt helped.
So what the thing that one of the moments that we had in the studio that I think is kind of touches on your question, but not 100%, but I think it's really a moment that I would want to share with people is Carlos from Chicano Batman lives in the area, and he came down when we did the pre-production demo stuff. I said, hey, do you want to come down and just like jam on a song? We're bros. It'd be nice to see you. He lives like 45 minutes away. So he came down, and this was like in October of 2024. And we're still kind of, the drums are set up in the live room. Me and Matt are in the control room. Carlos comes in and like puts his pedals down, and we sort of hang out for 30 minutes. And I just say like, well, I have this riff, right? So let me just show you this riff. And I start playing this riff. And on the record, it's called Midnights. And he's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, okay, look, maybe we try it like this. And then, Matt's like, well, I got this part that maybe would fit. And then, Neil's in there playing drums. And also Neil, I don't know if people know, but he's an engineer, and he's also an insanely good songwriter. So it's like having a very secret weapon behind the drum kit. So we're all kind of just like talking about the song, and Jay's sitting in the middle of all of us, at the controls, like sitting at the board. And, over like maybe an hour, maybe a little over an hour, we kind of figure it out, and we do a couple of takes of it. And the last take that we did was just, it's one of those moments in the studio where the air is just really thick and nobody really says anything for a minute. And Jay said, thank you guys for letting me be a part of that. And it was like, I was crying, like literally tears were in my eyes, and I get emotional thinking about it, because it was like one of the most honest and beautiful things I've heard somebody say in the studio in that moment. And he was sincere. He was like, watching that happen, watching that become something from nothing was such a beautiful experience. And like, I'm so grateful to be part of it. And it was just so heavy and so good. And that's actually, that version is on the record. We didn't redo it. So the only thing we redid was my guitars and the vocals. But to kind of have that intimacy in the studio is one, really rare, and two is at this point in our career, to have that was a real gift. And I think that to me, that moment really summed up our relationship with Jay.
Yeah. There's this feeling of like the glass wall, and you're on the clock, and to kind of be in the moment for a minute and even have that pause
Yeah.
is
And
like,
to have somebody acknowledge it that you look up to so much
yeah.
was a really, again, like it is a moment that I will never forget until I forget all moments.
I what do I tell my wife? I was like, you just have to ask me, like, I think I told her, like, what's my home phone number from Vermont, and like ask me what band I hate, right? And I feel like that's the way to know I'm still around.
Yeah, that's a canary.
Yeah, so if I fuck those up, then yeah, pull it. What is co-working what is co-writing like for you?
So it's a whole brand new process. I've never really done it outside of my band. Um, but I think the good thing is that, again, like with Frank Iero and I wrote a couple of things for this record. Crater is the one that everyone heard first. And I think the coolest thing for me is that this is somebody, and I didn't really know this until we asked him for a quote for the press pack. And he said, basically, he's like, this guy's been around my whole life. Like, I went to shows as a kid to see at the drive-in. Like, we tried to open for Sparta at a club, like a famous show for us where the pipes broke and nobody played. So it was just us and Mike Kim sitting in a dressing room for like 3 hours getting to know each other because nobody could play and we were waiting to see. It was like the pipe broke on the fire suppression, so they couldn't have the show.
Wow.
It's like a pipe froze and then it broke, and then so they were like, we think we can have it, maybe we can, maybe we can't. So like our crew's like set up and we're just sitting in the dressing room with these guys, um, and just got to kind of know them, just sat around and talked, and you know how it is in this business. Like, if you sit with somebody for 5 minutes, you'll be friends for the rest of your life. Like, it's just, a lot of us, like, you kind of either know or you don't right away. Like, if you come in and you're part of the gang, you're part of the gang, and then we're all going to be basically friends forever. So, fast forward a bunch of years, and we were in LA working on a writing session, and he was there for rehearsals. And I said, hey, do you want to write some songs? And he said, yeah, I'll come to the studio. And then the fires happened, and we lost all the power in the studio, so we couldn't. And he said, well, I'll just send you some stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I guess it didn't really work out. That's kind of the way I'm thinking. Like, a lot of times you say, do you want to do something, and people just get busy and it's not a big deal. But that's not uncommon, right? For musicians to have grand plans and not really go through with them. It's pretty common. But so a few weeks later, he sent me 3 songs, and I mean songs, like multiple parts, multiple guitars happening. Like, really, he really put in the work.
Vocals,
It wasn't
drums,
just like a riff. No vocal, just guitars.
riffs,
Like,
just riffs. But
yeah.
like
So when I talk
structure.
about writing songs, I just talk about riffs. That's at the end of the day, like, I'm a riff writer, and that's what I'll always be.
So he sent
That's how I
you 3
started.
songs worth of riffs.
Yeah, yeah. And so I took the first one, and I learned, like, I listened to it and I learned the part that kind of stuck out to me, and then I sort of played it my way, like I put it into like I translated it.
Yeah.
And then I sent it back to him, and I said, hey, always my rule is, like, if we're going to do this, we split it 50-50, and both parties have the right to say no. That's just it. It's like a consensual relationship, you know? So I sent it back to him, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, cool, run with it. Like, I'm all good. I sign off. Okay. And then I did it for the next one, which is called Mouth Breather, and I actually use his titles that he sent on the riffs. Crater and Mouth Breather are both what they're called on the record. And it's cool because Crater became part of the lyrics, because it's fun to have a jumping off point from a different perspective. And that's what I was looking for, because now as a 3-piece, I don't really have another riff writer around me. It's like a huge part of At the Drive-In was Cedric's a riff writer, I'm a riff writer, and we would put our stuff together, and then I would kind of play that version, obviously, because he's singing. So I would play our sort of like mishmash guitar parts. And then when Sparta started, Paul's a riff writer, and so we're doing that. And then Keely was a riff writer. So the last couple of records, I haven't really had that. I've been doing it just on my own. And I think that it was a really good lesson for me to go through those records. And like I was telling the people at Equal Vision, like, when we put out the self-titled record before everyone knew that they didn't like it, like, I really, like, it's just something that I say now I understand. For me, it was important. And it's okay if it's not successful or commercially successful, or like it's not going to be in anyone's top 3. All of that's fine. because for me it's like a journey that I need to go through. Like I can't get to this mountain without going through that valley. It's physically impossible. So then to get here, I had this real crave to write with other riff writers, and Frank was so perfect at it. And also it's one of those things like I'm talking about with Jay, like he knows my language. Like he grew up listening to me playing. He knows how I play, and he sent me stuff that he thought would be cool for me to hear. And it was so cool. Like it was such a cool perspective because he's so fucking talented and he's such a good writer that he just like gifted me these beautiful things I never would have thought of. And then it gave me this launching point. And it's funny that when we released Crater, fans were like, "Man, this is cool. It's like the old days." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, because it's somebody from my past. He knows my language. Again, this is just like this whole record is like a record of common vernaculars."
What did he send you to listen to?
So he sent me like verse chorus bridge kind of thing of like three
Yeah.
different ideas. So I took pieces of, like with Crater, I took like, two or three pieces from each section and kind of made them into one guitar player part, my style, which is just a different way of like I play guitar differently than he does, obviously, and I use a lot of open strings because that's the way I play. So it kind of changes and I'm not good with musical terms, but the voicings, I think is what you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of changes the voicings, but the energy and the spirit and the actual melody are still there. So then I was showing Jay and Matt in the studio, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a song that Frank wrote, with me or whatever." And they're like, "Oh, can we hear his version?" And I played them and they're like, "Whoa, this is like," knowing that this is what it is, I can see it, but I don't know if I ever would have made that connection.
Mm.
Like without knowing it, without you telling us like how you got from A to B, I don't know that I would have made that connection immediately. I'm like, that's the coolest part because that's like going to practice and writing with somebody. Because if you took that first day of practice on a boombox, no one would ever. I mean, if you heard day one of One Arm Scissor, like you would not maybe recognize what it became, other than you can hear that like the signature drum part or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff evolved so much, and it was cool to be able to show them sort of the beginnings of it, which was like, yeah, Frank sent me this, and it's such a cool idea. Like the song is such a cool idea, and it was fun to like have that. And then on the other big co-write, which is fuck, I had used codes for songs, so sometimes it's hard once the record comes out because I can't remember what what they're called on the record. But I think it's "See You Soon." Um, on that song, it was a whole different thing where I went to a friend of a friend's apartment in LA that he writes with. My friend David Garza, who's like a Texas guy that does a bunch of stuff. I said, "Hey, do you have anybody in LA that you would recommend just like going and writing with? Because I'm learning how to do this. I'm trying to learn how to do this." So he sent me to this guy Adrian Bourgeois' house, and I just like played acoustic and he played piano, and we kind of fucked around for like an hour. But in the process, I was playing something on guitar, like a little riff I had, and he started playing piano, but his back was to me. So I just stopped playing and turned on my phone voice memo thing
Mm-hmm.
and just recorded him playing for like probably 5 minutes. And I was like, "Hey, that was great. Thank you, man." He's like, "Are you sure? Like usually this is like a long process." And I was like, "No, to be honest with you, like I think I got the seed that I need from this." And then the next day I went and met this guy Kimball, who plays with Juliette Lewis and a bunch of other stuff. He's a great writer as well. So we wrote for a couple of hours. I showed him that piano thing, and then we built a song out of it. And he added like 5 chords that I've never played in a song, basically. Like it was just fun to learn different voicings and to hear different things. And then I took that and came home and sort of finished that song and then sent it back to both of them and said like, "Hey, can you play now to this demo?" And then that's actually what you hear on the record, because this is the good part about like Pro Tools, right? If you use it as a tool, which is I can send you something and you can play it, and then we can take it apart and put it in this other thing, and then we don't have to, we can change the way that this is created, but it's all from the same place of like heartfelt creation.
Yeah. I love that. And I think too, you talked about it a little bit and I want to go back to is like, oh, they didn't like this. It wasn't successful. I think getting through that, you wouldn't have known. And I know you know this, but I'm just saying it out loud again. It's like you wouldn't have been as open in this moment if you didn't go through that.
Absolutely.
But you did, and it was. I just think sometimes like you kind of have to walk through shit, and other people have to walk through shit. It's that same thing of like walking into the room in 5 minutes, you're friends. Like sometimes you just, I don't know. I'm not saying you have to do the small show and break big, but like that's a huge part of learning and growing. And I think this, you were growing, even though responses back were X, Y, and Z, you were still learning through that.
Yeah. And I don't think that even in those moments, I don't think I really took it as, I think even in the moment of like, no, I'm putting this out and like I signed a deal and I'm going to the studio and it's like, I took it seriously. But when the reaction was like, yeah, that's cool. I don't think any part of me was hurt by that. I think I was like, yeah, it is cool. It is cool. Like it doesn't need to be anything else. I don't think I'm in a place where I'm making. I think again, you know when you're in the valley. Like I know that I know like the sun has gone down and I can hear the wolves fucking howling and they're right behind. And I know, and I'm scared. Like I know that that's a not a great time, but I also know that I have to get through it. Like with anything in life. And I think the part of me that feels fortunate about the career I've had is that I've had incredible highs and incredible lows, but I wouldn't change any of them. Like I wouldn't go back and if I could go back to the day that At the Drive-In stopped in 2001, I wouldn't change it. And for a long time I would have. A long time I wished I could go back and make everything right and make that like, oh, I wish that I had had my head better together, or I wish that I knew the right thing to say, or I wish we surrounded ourselves with the right people. Or you can do that shit forever, and all you're doing in that moment is wasting the moment that you're in. So I can go back and talk and dissect and wish and want and whatever, but instead of doing that, what I'd rather do is like take all of those lessons and put them in my DNA now and then enjoy what I'm doing right now. And I think without those lessons, then it's hard to make something new. It's like why the second record is so hard to make for young bands, because your whole life is the first record and then the second record is 18 months of touring, and like what are you going to sing about? Like hotel rooms and buses and backstages and heartbreak and whatever. But to be I made this record when I was 48 years old, and that's like an incredible fucking life. Like I've had an awesome, incredible, like mind-blowing life that I never ever would have thought that I would have had. But not just the good days, like the bad days.
Yeah.
And you have to go through that stuff, and you have to make records like, when we're going for we're putting together the set list for the next 18 months, and like the song list is like 50 songs, and I'm trying to bring songs from every era and every record. So I went back and listened to the self-titled and to Trust the River, and I was like, man, this is like a time capsule for me. Like I can go and hear where I was at in 2019 when we made that record. And I can go back and listen. Like, the self-titled record was made during COVID, and it was done completely remotely. So it's like Tucker's playing drums, Matt's in LA. There's no band. It's just really me trying to figure out how to get out of this headspace. And I go back and there's so many like keyboards and stuff because I know exactly where I was. I was sitting upstairs in my like den, in my like whatever you call it, den, I guess. Sitting up there with a keyboard and a laptop because for the first time in my life, I had every hour of every day open. You know what I mean? Like everybody else. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what it's like if I take all of these pedals and put it on this keyboard and then, fucking reverse them and then write a song out of it. And all of that stuff is on that record. But all of that was like just getting through the valley, right? To get to this, which now feels like you can't plan for this and you can't expect it and you can't make it if it doesn't really happen. But like all of our stars aligned on this. Like the band feels good. Neil spent 4 years playing all of our old songs. Like we did 2 like legacy shows, you know what I mean? We did Wiretap and we did Porcelain. So as a band, we're very well versed in who Sparta is. And it worked out really well, even though that's not the path I want to take. Like I think bands of our age are you gotta kind of pick which way you're going, which is like we're gonna do the the celebration shows, which is awesome, and I respect it, and I love seeing people play full records, or you're going to go the other direction, but it's kind of hard to do both. So for us, I think it was just like we dipped our toes in it. We did Wiretap. We did like 70 plus shows on that. And then I was like, we're not doing Porcelain. And then I was like, okay, we'll do Porcelain, but we're only doing like 20 shows. And we ended up doing, I think, like 30 plus.
Mm.
But I think by that point, it was like, when you look around and everybody's going into autopilot because you play the same songs the same way, the same set every day because it's a record play,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a little bit of the fun out of it for me. So I loved being able to see, especially on Wiretap, being able to see fans experience that record. And we did it without, I mean, I know you saw one of the shows. We do it without talking. So we would just do the whole record without saying a word, because I realized on the third show that I was taking people out of their moment by saying something. So like on the fourth show, I was like, I'm not going to say anything anymore, guys. We're just going to play every fucking song in a row like it's a record. And it turned out to be really beautiful and a really incredibly cathartic moment. And listening to people tell me their stories of 20 years of living with this record, like I met my wife, like we had a baby, I lost my dad, like all the stuff that happened and we were the soundtrack to that, is the biggest honor that you can have. And I was humbled by it, and I was like grateful to hear people's stories, and to feel like we've been allowed into their life is an awesome place to be. But again, like we needed to go through that. I said no to that shit forever. And when I said yes, it was only because we did a Get Ups tour. We did a Get Up Kids tour, and they were doing a record play. And fans kept asking, like, oh, Wiretap's 20 next year. Are you going to do it? And I was like, no, I think we're good. And then as more people were like, oh, that sucks, I understand, but like that record means this to me. I was like, oh, right. It's not about me. It's about you. That's right. Sometimes you have to be reminded, because again, like, I think it's hard to remember that most of us spend most of our time in a tiny room behind the stage by ourselves. Like we're not talking to everybody every day about our band. Like it's just not, we're not in the same space as fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes it's easy to forget what this stuff means to them. And I was really, again, like just really grateful that I was at the merch booth those nights when somebody said their feelings about that record, because that was the first time I was like, Matt, maybe we should do it. Like these are pretty heavy stories. And and Matt's just like, I'm game for whatever, man. Like whatever you want to
Yeah.
do, I'm cool. Yeah. Matt's just like my ride or die.
But I think you've said multiple times, and I think it's worth repeating, is this: get through it,
Yeah.
and being open to it and getting through it. And how do you feel moving forward? How do you feel in that moment? And I think that, like you said, it led to this. And I just think a lot of people stop, or like they're afraid, and to get through it, to be able to, like you said, you can rehash shit all fucking day. What's
Yeah.
the action? What are you doing today? What are you doing moving forward? And I feel like that energy for you, I mean, I can feel it. It's just
Yeah.
this,
It's palpable on this
yeah.
one. So I think one of the things, again, like I know I use the word grateful a lot, but that's because I am. One of the things that I'm really grateful for learning the Discord vernacular as a kid, as a young man, learning how to be in a band and what expectations were and what goals were and sort of why you do it, is that I never had a destination. So even when, say, At the Drive-In's getting big, my anxiety and depression and fear, all of that is coming from a place of like, I'm uncomfortable where this is headed because I didn't want to go there. I wasn't a kid who was like, I want to be in Metallica, or I want to be in Kiss, or I want to be a rock star, or I want to sell out arenas. Like none of that was ever in my like bucket list. I never had a destination. This to me has always been a journey, right? And if you're on a journey, then you go through the good and the bad, because I'm not really trying to get anywhere. I'm just trying to write good songs, and that's it. That's like the simplest way to explain why I do this. Like when people say like, what's the goal, or what's the like even when you sit down with the label and you say like, okay, this is like the plan, like what's the goal? And I'm always like, I'm just trying to write good songs. That's it. That's my whole goal. Like everything else is your department. Like I don't care if, I mean, I would love to do this at a level where I can pay my bills and be comfortable and whatever, but that's like the icing on the cake. That's not the whole point of it. Like I could go get a regular job, right? I don't need security as much as I need the journey of trying to get to the best song I can write. And the only way you get to do that is by keeping on, right?
Yeah. How was it getting with EVR?
So when we had we went and sat down, and this is such an East Coast moment. Like we're playing in Jersey. Dan from EVR came down
The
to meet
legend,
us.
the
The
legend, Dan
legend, yeah, absolute
Sandman.
legend. He came down and this again, super East Coast. We went to Dunkin' Donuts
Fuck yeah, you did.
and
Got some
and
donkeys.
and I got a coffee and we sat down and he said, why do you want to come to EVR? And I said, because I want to come home. And I had never really thought about it that way, but something that Neil said, and this is having somebody in the band with a different perspective because he's coming in 18 years into the band. He said, "Oh, well, Sparta was born on majors." Like just a casual off the cuff thing. And I was like, I'd never fucking thought about that because to me, it's this whole lineage of like, I started making 7 inches in El Paso using my college savings in 1994. That's where I started. But then when you say Sparta was born on the majors, that's 100% true. Like we got a deal at DreamWorks for a stupid amount of money, and we made a stupid expensive record, and we toured in buses and blah blah blah, and we had 12 people on tour and all of that shit. And I was never really comfortable there. And then we kind of just kept going from one to the next. Like DreamWorks folded, it went into like Interscope, and then we went, we were on Geffen Interscope, and then we went to Hollywood, and then this like huge hiatus happens because I burned out and was
Yeah.
like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. And I feel like it's kind of the thing like when you're breaking up with a partner and you say, I love you and I want you to be loved, but I can't love you like that right now. Like I can't be here in this anymore. I can't do this. And I had never really thought about it that way until Neil said that one comment one day. And it was so easy to explain to Dan why I wanted to go to Equal Vision because you're my community. You're my home. This is where I feel like we speak the same language and we laugh at the same jokes and we all have the same kind of vision of what is successful. And for us, what is successful is making something cool. And yeah, we have to sell enough to do it again. That's without being, I mean, you don't have to say that twice to me. Like I get that there's a job to this. That's not a problem. But I want to go to work every day at a place where we're laughing at the same jokes and that I don't have to feel uncomfortable when you're talking about things that are not comfortable for me. And that world is not comfortable for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I love that question that he asked because it really opens up, and I'm sure it was a much longer conversation, but your sort of focus on I want to be in an environment that I feel supported.
Yeah, and I want to keep going, and I think that's an important thing for them to hear. It's not like, hey, can you give us enough money so that we can make a record, so that we can go on tour, so that we can fill the year between anniversary tours, I
Seriously.
was like, I'm writing these songs because I want to play these songs forever. Like that's why I'm writing these songs, and then I want to go on tour and play them, and then I want to fucking do it again. Like that's what I want to do, and I want to find somewhere that's like realistic. I don't need $500,000 that's never going to get paid back to make a record. I just need to make a record.
Yeah, that's great. What about for you um seeing new fans?
Yesterday we did a secret show kind of warm up thing for the beginning of the cycle, and it's like 60 people at this, basically like a backyard show at a restaurant that has a lounge in the back and has a stage, and we got to play it, and it was fun, and mostly it's our friends or whatever. And I'm standing off the stage when we finished, and probably a 16-year-old girl came up with her mom and was like, "I'm sorry to bother you. Do you think you can sign my CD?" And she had a porcelain CD. The CD is easily older than she is. And her mom was like, "Hey, thanks for signing that." And I was like, "Thanks for bringing your kid." And it was basically like my kid brought me. Like
Wow.
I love seeing that new generation, of course. Like my niece and nephew now play like in a punk band.
Fuck
I
yeah.
love I love being able to be the older guy at the show, or the guy who's been through a bunch of shit that people can ask questions to. I love seeing like the new generation come. But it is a trip for sure. I mean, we have kids coming up afterwards, and I'm like, oh, did your parents, did you get in this with your, and they're like, oh no, our parents don't listen to this at all. Like we just discovered you on Spotify or whatever, and it like spoke to us, and so we were so excited to see you. We discovered you 4 years ago, and you haven't been to Salt Lake City since, or whatever it is. It's like it really is invigorating, and it takes a lot of my sort of preconceptions of who we are and what we're doing, and turns it upside down, and it's such a pleasurable thing. Because you think like it's cool, we're gonna go, and it's gonna be, sweaty dudes in their 40s or whatever,
A bunch of
and it's like, oh no,
Toms,
there's a
right?
yeah, a
Yeah,
bunch of Toms hanging out. Well, that's an ideal show for
it
me right
is.
there. It's
I
just a bunch
know
of Toms hanging out.
that's enough. But you know what I mean? It's like that's I mean when I was at there was some shows where I was talking to some bands after, and I was like, what the fuck was going on? Like this is like I just it blew my mind. So to know that they're finding it and they're searching says that it connects, says that it's valid. And I think what you said earlier, and I'm paraphrasing, it was just like it's this, I don't know, like almost like a breath of fresh air to be like, this is who we're going to this show, and it's not going to be a bunch of 40-year-olds. And
Yeah.
if it fills up with 40-year-olds, totally fine, everybody, if you want to fill up the show. But it's really nice to see that next generation.
Well, here's the thing. The thing that makes me the happiest last night was playing a new song to people of 30 age years in difference, all hearing it for the first time, all connecting to it for the first time, all having like the same day one on something
Mm-hmm.
was such a good feeling. Because the legacy stuff is cool, but you're playing into people's 25-year memory of something or whatever, which is awesome. But it's also awesome that the next song, everybody gets the same starting point. And that's such a cool feeling to have.
I love that. It's kind of like a new star that you see.
Yep.
Like it's visible from Earth. Everyone gets to see it, or that light hit you at that moment.
Damn, sounds like a Jim Atkins line right there.
Oh, bro, don't get me started. I was thinking the only way that a full show of Toms would be helpful is that everyone could see. Because if there's someone shorter than me, you're fucked. Like I always sit in the back. I'm in the giraffe section. I'm in like back with the giraffes. I don't need to ruin someone's life. But
that's very respectful of you. Yeah. I wish more people did that. I mean, I'm with you. I don't really have that problem, but I definitely have short friends that are like, how do I always get stuck behind the 6'5" guy?
Yep. My apologies. Ask me to move. I want to talk about everything you say. Can you dive a little deeper into that? Because it is that verse, chorus, verse. Give me a little bridge party, and then a chorus.
Yeah.
Really fucking straight ahead. I just was like, there's no. When you talked about Jay making funny about the noodling, I was like, there's no fucking noodling in this.
Nothing. It's just it's built around a great bass line with like minimal guitar and pretty simple words. I mean, very, stream of conscious kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which then leads you to a chorus, which is one line repeated twice at full volume and full scream, and it says one thing, which is I want to believe everything you say,
Yeah.
And it's a direct line to. It was a first song we wrote for this record, and when we played it at soundcheck, that like a couple of days into noodling with it, and then we sort of had the gist of the song, which never really changed. When we played it at soundcheck, that's what I sang on the chorus that day. Like just it, like you noodle with it, or you like throw out placeholder words or whatever it is. Like I screamed that the first day, and I've never changed it. I've never stopped doing that. And I think it's just, it just kind of speaks for itself. And it's one of those songs that you're grateful that it comes to you in that way. And it's all built around like a great Matt Miller bass line, which is, he's a unique player. And when we have that kind of like, that's the first foundation of a song, it's cool. And it allows me to be a little more spacious guitar wise and put a little more into the vocals maybe. And then it's just like a very classic 100% me bridge. Like, it's just like, I love writing bridges. Like I always say, if I was like an assassin, that would be my job.
Really?
Like, Yeah, so I'm a bridge. Like I always consider myself a bridge writer above all. Like I struggle with choruses and verses are obviously
Wait a
like just
minute. Okay, wait a minute. I love this. I never get to talk about this. Talk to me about why, because I could only do choruses. And
that's a gift.
I know that
Yeah.
sounds like very like, but I just was like, oh, this is a fucking chorus. Well, this riff's a chorus, or intros and choruses. So I had trouble with verses and bridges, but not choruses and intros. So tell
Yeah.
me why you
So
love bridges.
I mean, if you go back and start, if you know that I'm a bridge writer, and then you go back and listening to the last 40 years of me making music, a lot of it will make sense. Like
Fuck.
like there's multiple bridges in At the Drive-In songs. There's multiple bridges in Sparta song because I love that. I love the thing that pops out that's a little bit left of center and
It
then
doesn't
disappears and
repeat
never
and
comes
then
back.
never
Yeah.
comes back. You motherfucker. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
So that's I mean that, like if somebody wants to write with me, I'm always like, oh, just let me just do the bridge. Like let me just write the bridge. I just want to write the
Wow.
bridge. So it's a huge part of my, it's also the way I play guitar, which is, sculpted from when you're really young. It's just the way that you physically play the instrument is I play with a lot of open strings and I sort of move my pinky and my ring finger around to add melodies to it. So like if you listen to the bridge on Everything You Say, like there's one droning note that's
Yes.
going on. So that's me changing the voicing but keeping one finger on that one particular note that all the chords tie to. And I don't know enough about music to tell you why that works, but when we did it, Jay was like, "Oh, go back and double that with
Mm.
like an effect on it." You know what I mean? And like really drive that home. And so I think again, it's just the way I physically play the instrument and the way I hear things. Bridges have always just been kind of my favorite part of a song, like the middle eight. I love it so much. It's kind of like the words that sort of, it's like the so it's like the you're, how do I explain it? It's like you're not the boyfriend, but you're like the boyfriend's best friend. You're like just kind of a little bit off of like the main attention of somebody,
Yes.
of the listener.
Yes.
Like you're not the chorus. Obviously, the chorus is like your partner for life, and that's like the thing that we're all gonna sing three times in a song, and it's gonna be the most uplifting part. At what, you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
and the verses like your coworkers, right? Like they're there and they have to be there because without them, there's no job. But the bridge is like the weird guy at work that's like cool, but you don't really know him. He's a little mysterious, says funny things, but not too funny.
Not too funny, and you don't have to call HR.
No, you don't have to call HR,
Yeah, yeah, no, everything's
but you're always
fine.
like, I would hang out with that dude,
I
but
would
you
hang out with
don't.
that dude, but you don't.
But you're
Okay.
like, fuck that guy. I love seeing that guy at work.
I love seeing that
That's
guy
it.
work, but I'll never hang out with him outside. I know I
Yeah, we're
got
not gonna
you.
get dinner.
Yeah, no dinner. So that's so interesting. We could do a whole thing just on bridges. This is so everybody. Let's listen and go back and listen to all the songs in for the career, and we'll discuss the bridges. I love that. I love that because I think it's a like, especially if you're talking about Everything You Say. I can tell it's part of it. I can tell there's a level of sound to it. I know it's dropping a little bit. I know
Yeah,
that it's adjacent, right? It's the office over, right?
yeah.
It's not the main office, right?
And
It's
I
a
can I can
satellite
tell you
office.
I can tell you one thing about writing the vocal part for the bridge is that I was just trying to, and sometimes you do this as a writer, you try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes because you're like, what do I want to get out of this? Like, what do I want to
Yes.
feel from this part? And I was like, I want to feel like that Jeremy Enig, Sunny Day,
You fucker.
like like I don't know how to put a word on it, but that's what I wanted. And when I sang it, I was like, oh, I feel like I got what I was trying to get out of that. Like that's my most Jeremy Enig channeled vocal for sure.
It's so funny that
Probably
that
in my
was. I have heard the record, so that is my favorite song, and that bridge stuck out to me. So maybe that was. But what channeling of Jeremy did you think about? Was it like how it feels, or was it
yeah,
like
like how the melody feels like because we all have like again, like we have certain tools that we can use as writers.
right?
and we're not really going outside of that. Like I'm not gonna write as somebody else, but I can write inspired by somebody else. And it's just like if you listen to the way I go from one word to the next, and there's like I purposefully sang it in a way where I was trying to channel that the way he makes me feel when I listen to him sing. So you would never know it if you listen to it. You're not like, oh shit, he's totally biting Jeremy's thing. But for me, when I wrote it, I was like, I want that feeling of this, because it's just like, it's such a straightforward bridge, and it needed like this kind of like thing kind of winding in and out of it melodically. And that's where I went to, and I thought it worked really well. And I do remember Jay, when I sang it, just being like, well, I don't really know what you're talking about there. And I was like, you don't need to. It's not, again, it's the guy at work that you're like, you don't need to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to put that line, Northern sounds and Southern lights in something for so long, and I finally got it into a song. So to me, it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A gloss that loses its shine, like that to me makes perfect sense. And then just flipping the Northern lights and Southern sounds into Northern sounds and Southern lights. That's just me having fun with language.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Can you talk about the cover?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is like the number one most fought for cover I've ever.
Ooh, tell me about the fights.
Through.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I went through like 3 or 4 different kind of versions of kind of what I imagined the cover was going to look like even to like making like a little wooden box with sand in it and putting glass on top of it and then cracking the glass and then taking photos of that, trying to find like where I was headed with this whole thing. And I sort of just like ran out of ideas and wasn't really inspired. And this is again like what happens when you make a record that you're feeling proud of, is that you start worrying about fucking it up. And I didn't want to fuck it up. So I called Matt Miller and I was like, do you have any artist buddies or anything that is inspiring? He said, well, I have this friend, Pat Riot, who I think is killer. He makes these, he's kind of, I guess his thing he's most known for is making bubblegum portraits of baseball players. It's super cool. And it's a weird art form and it's cool. And he's just like a LA street artist kind of guy. But when I looked at his website, the thing that stuck out to me was the ring with the flowers collage. And so I called him and I said, I really like this thing. Like, we don't have a huge budget. And he said, well, let me listen to the record. And he called me back and said, I listened to your record and then I listened to all of your records. And I would do it. We don't need to exchange money. Like, I'll just do this as an artist who respects another artist. And so he made us a version of it just for us, that piece of art. And he spent like, I don't know how long it takes him to do it, but it's collage. So he's cutting stuff out and pasting it on. And I felt like it just represented, again, the journey, like all these pieces cut together, put on one thing. It really made sense. And I didn't have a title for the album until I was watching the John Candy documentary.
Oh my God, it's such a good fucking documentary.
It's good. And Macaulay Culkin says, you know, when he walked in, I was a little kid and he just cut a silhouette in my brain. Like, he just left this impression. And I was like, that's fucking what I want. Like, that's exactly what I want. And I knew at that moment that title fit that piece of art. And then people were like, no, it's not, it doesn't feel like Sparta, or it's like, it's too different, or it's whatever, you know. And me and Matt just fought round after round after round. And I love that when it came out, people were like, somebody at the label was like, this is a scroll stopper. And I was like, that's my favorite new word. So it does feel like, it just feels like we fought for something that we believed in. And all this stuff is happening for a reason.
I love it. I need you to do one more thing.
One more.
Do the James Brown line about the bridge.
What do you mean?
Take it to the bridge.
Oh, I didn't. Dude, I'm the guy at work. You're like, don't do an inside joke with that guy. That fucking guy's dead.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me again. And I look forward to seeing you in LA.